Hi there, and welcome to Nicole's Creative Adventures. My name is Nicole Vieira, and I'm your host. I just want to say thanks for coming and checking out my podcast. If you're a repeat offender, thanks for coming back. I appreciate it. It says a lot to me. And if you're new, hey, welcome. I hope that you enjoy um, my perspective and what I have to offer, and maybe my humor if I'm funny enough to keep you around. But this podcast is about knitting, it's about quilting, it's about sewing, and now about spinning, although I'm kind of a total newbie on spinning, so I have to totally admit that sucker. But it's new and it's creative, and so it's part of this podcast. I also will go off on tangents on things like maybe food, quilting. Oh, I already said quilting. Um, lip gloss. I did buy a bunch of lip gloss I'm very excited about, but I might not share that because people don't want to hear about lip gloss. But anyways, um, enough about that. Where you can find me. You can find me. My podcast show notes are always to be found on my blog, which is nicolescreativeadventures.blogspot.com. And you can also find me on Instagram at Baker Vieira. I'll have all this listed underneath the screen. And also on Ravelry, which is for all things fiber related. For the most part, knitting and spinning and weaving. You will find me at Eat Mo Poi. I also have a group that's representative of this podcast that I would love for you to join, and that is called Nicole's Creative Adventures. Try to keep that somewhat similar. I would also love for you to subscribe to my podcast on YouTube. I've decided that I'm going to do a giveaway for when I reach 50 subscribers, because why not? That's kind of a big deal. I'll probably do another when I get to 100. But I'm kind of debating on the giveaway prize. It's going to be a skein of yarn, but I'm looking through my stash right now and I'm kind of thinking, what do I love, but I can maybe live without, maybe. So I'll be putting that together. So what I'll do is that obviously I'll open up a thread pretty soon in my group on Ravelry. If you have to be a subscriber on my YouTube page, but also part of my group in Nicole's Creative Ventures on Ravelry, and just you put a post in there saying subscribing on YouTube and your group. I want to win, and then I'll do a random generated um, winner, so it's totally legit. All right. Probably in my next podcast, I'll let you guys know what skein the lucky winner will get when we reach 50. I'll probably give it like 2 days after we reach 50 viewers, so that person who actually subscribed number 50 or close to that gets an opportunity to actually go to my group and post, right? So the rules will be on there as well. So just in case this was very confusing for you, because that kind of sounds like it to me, that was kind of confusing. You'll find the rules on the group. Alrighty, let's see what else is going on. Let's move on to podcast appreciation. I gotta admit, I've been super swamped this week. I kind of felt like it was my first week back to work. Shocker to the system. I mean, I had like 10 days off. I'm not complaining about 10 days off. But you know, they were busy with family events and Christmas and New Year's and stuff like that. But I was lazy. I did a lot of knitting during that time. But this week, like knitting, what's that? Like crafting, what's that? It was like I didn't feel like I had enough time. I went from having days, a whole day to figure out what I want to work on today to like, oh, I'm exhausted. I worked all day. I gotta make dinner. Oh wait, I gotta go to the store before I make dinner, before I get home, and then it's just been busy. So, anyways, so you're not gonna see a whole lot of progress on my work, but I did acquire some new things, and I have some news. But podcast appreciation, because I didn't have the time. Obviously, I didn't have time to watch podcasts as much as I like to. So I'm a little behind on my podcast, but I did get a handful in. When I knit, I try to listen to podcasts, or sometimes I'll listen while I'm doing my makeup in the morning. Sometimes while I'm cooking, as long as my husband doesn't want to communicate because I have earbuds in. He's like, honey, you shut yourself off from me. Can I just talk to you? So let's see what we got here. What I was really excited about, and I'm always excited about her podcast because she's probably got she's one of my favorite indie dyers, is the Yarngasm podcast, which is Wool and Vine Yarns. And Kristen is the host, and she went on Christmas vacation with her hubby to Italy. Jealous. So I was just really excited to listen to her podcast because I knew she could not have a podcast after her Christmas break and not share her trip. So I was so glad that she shared her trip. She had great photos. I'm planning to, Lord willing, when I do my sabbatical in the fall of 2017, I'm praying that I can go to Europe, and I specifically want to go to France, because I had this dream. I took 4 years of French. I'm rusty. I need to get my, you know what, in gear so that I'm ready for that trip. But I also want to have my husband, because my husband's not huge on the whole Europe thing. But I'm praying that he's going to want to meet me in France, and I'll probably either go there. They have these wonderful quilting retreats for quilters, and they go and you visit fabric shops, and you have to try the food and the culture. Maybe I do something like that, and then he comes and joins me, and then we spend a few days in maybe Paris or in the south of France, and then we move our way over to Italy. And so I definitely want to go to Italy, and he's definitely more intrigued by that trip as well. So anyways, I was intrigued and excited I keep saying intrigued, so $5 to the next, no, just kidding, I'm not doing that. To the next person who hears, $5 for every time you hear me say it. No, I'll be broke. Because I'm probably saying it a lot today. My brain is a little foggy. So, anyways, Yarngasm podcast. So I do watch it. I usually watch it the same day she usually posts it, which is weekly, normally, and or the morning before, or sorry, the morning after, because I'm love her yarn, and her shop update to me is very, 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 very important. Except for she changed her time of her shop update, which isn't normally a problem for most individuals, except for those who don't remember the time difference between Eastern Standard Time and Pacific Standard Time. For some reason, I thought it was, well, I knew it was 3 hours, but I can't count. And so I set my little iPhone alarm to remind me like 10 minutes before the update, because there was a colorway, and I'm blanking now on what it was, but there was this beautiful, like bluish, greenish, teal, blitzy. It was on her Blitz base that she showed, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I love that color. And so I wanted that baby so bad, but I missed it because I went on my time an hour late. And I went out there. I'm like, oh, maybe I'm not. What? Okay, maybe she's behind on updating. No, she's not behind. Nicole, you're behind. And everything sold out. Practically everything sold out. So, and that's normally how it is with her yarn. If you're interested in trying out her yarn, maybe you've seen me lift up a skein or two of her yarn and drool over it and fondle it. Just know that you have to be on it like a bonnet. And there's this whole, sorry, I gotta put my arms over here because I keep resting my arms down, and I think I'm making noises on my desk because I also have a bracelet, and maybe I should just take that off. Yeah, she had talked about trying to figure out how she can prevent cart jacking, which is when the moment you put in your cart, if you don't check out immediately, someone else might have added to their cart and checked out before you, and so this bye-bye yarn, right? It'd be really cool if she could do the whole, it's in your cart for 5 minutes. Shoot, I'd even say like 3 minutes is doable. I mean, women and men who are shopping for yarn want to get business done. You know what I mean? And so like they know this is a small amount of an update, and so it goes fast. But hey, until then, you've got to be like shoot really fast. Usually we'll have to, if you want more than one skein of a different color, you have to purchase one, pay for shipping, and then purchase another, pay for shipping, and that's a bummer. So let's move on. Kristen, what's up? I love your yarn. All right, shout outs. Okay, so I'm not going to pronounce this because I'm going to say it wrong. Or I'll try. Here we go. Three. I'm not going to try. It's THRIAKMA, also known as Christiane, which I think that's how you say her name. She's from Texas. She's a new person to our podcast group. I just want to say what's up. And she is a knitter and a walker at the same time. That means that, yes, that's right. She walks, she goes for walks, and she knits at the same time. And I recommend that. Now, I don't recommend you doing that with like a crazy pattern knit, but like your vanilla socks, like double pointed knitting, needles knitting is totally fine. Or doing a basic shawl that has a lot of the same repeat that you're used to. Obviously, you'd want to go with the small. Whatever you're working on can't be too heavy because it'll be laying on you and you'll feel the weight of it while you're walking because you can't rest it on anything. So socks are perfect. So I'm just saying, if you want to get in some steps and you want to also get in some stitches, you can walk and knit. And let me grab this real quick. Now, the project bag is kind of important. And so I'm definitely on the kick of making my own project bags and buying really cute project bags that are handmade online on Etsy. But my first two project bags I actually bought because I wasn't walking and knitting. Before that, it was like whatever bag I could find in my house, or maybe not even use a bag and just, a bowl. But anyways, I do recommend Known Knits US. It's made in USA.com. Hold on. Focus, my baby, focus. Camera, you want to focus on this? All right, well, you get the gist. So these are super lightweight. Okay, I have a red one and I have this burgundy jewel one. And I got them on Amazon. I know you can buy them on their website too. Nonetheless, it's lightweight. And inside of it, it has this little strap so that you can guide your yarn through it, so you have less of a chance of the ball trying to come out of there, or confusion with the yarn and they get all tangled up. There's this cute little strap here, which I love because I literally wrap this around my belt, or I have this little where is it? It's in the other room. It's a band that goes around my waist that also has little slots in it. So I put my key to my house in there. It used to be able to hold my old iPhone. What did I have before? 4S, 5S. This is a 4S, a 6S now. It's this is the Plus. It will not fit in there anymore. But basically what it was, it's like a runner's belt. That's what it is. Not that I run. Tried it. Did it for a little bit, and then my knee was like, what are you doing? So walking is my friend. So anyways, it's like a runner's belt. It was on Amazon. It was like maybe $12. But what I like about it is that has some notches in it, so that I notch this into it so my bag stays attached to me. And then I will also clip my little doggy onto my belt so he can walk me while we walk together. He's not a puller. I trained him that way. Not at the beginning. He was a total puller at the beginning. So we walk together, and only things that I have in my hands are my needles, and it works. So I don't know, try it out. Especially if you've got a Fitbit for Christmas and you're looking to get your steps in, but then you're like, when I'm walking, I'm not knitting. You could totally be. So Christiane is totally doing that. So way to go, girl. All right, moving on. Whew. Let's see, Q&A. Okay, so first off, I just want to make a statement. I watched my podcast again. I'm like, oh, I don't want to. I think I might have came off like I wasn't a fan of Quilt As You Go. And I would say, look, I respect Quilt As You Go. I think it's an excellent way for beginners to start. And especially I would say for people who aren't necessarily planning on getting into the whole art of machine quilting and free motion quilting on your own. If you're all about, especially because what I like about Quilt As You Go, excellent for when you want to make quilts and love on other people and give them to people, when you want to do charity quilts, when you want to do a team effort. What's cool about Quilt As You Go is you guys can get together and you guys can make a quilt together. You have all the dimensions on the block that you need, and by the time you come back with all the blocks, you're just combining them together and adding the backing, and you're, and binding, and you're ready to go. So I didn't want to. I thought I came off a little like, oh, I don't like Quilt As You Go. It's like, no, one of the things that I love to do is to do my own machine quilting. And so with Quilt As You Go, I feel limited in that. And so I just don't usually lean towards that, although I have done that before. All right. Just want to make sure. It is a smart way to quilt if you're looking to save time and you're looking to do things fast and you're not trying to you're not doing something that you want to carry down for generations and show off your creative workmanship. Like for sure, like Quilt As You Go. And if you're trying to be modern, the blocks that you can do, and you can really show off fabric in Quilt As You Go. So fan that way. All right. So Carrie Joyce, who I mentioned in my past podcast, who's my new like BFF when it comes to the crafty world, she had a ton of questions for me in her message, and I was like, I could type them out, but I'm not a writer, as I've said before, so I'll just explain them on the podcast. There you go, Carrie. Throwing you out there again. Okay, so here's some questions. They're all quilting related. She is a total knitter and spinner. I think she might even crochet too. So Fiber Girl, who's venturing into the world of quilting, which is the world that I really came from, and more. I'm venturing more into the knitting, and definitely brand spanking new into the spinning world. So here's some questions. Do you do all your quilts on your Bernina, or do you outsource to a long arm quilter? I have never outsourced to a long arm quilter. One reason was I couldn't afford it when I first started quilting. I was like, it was enough to be able to afford the fabric and the tools I needed. And we had 2 kids in the home. We had our own home business. The economy was turning for the world downside. And so there was no way that I would want to spend $100+ on a quilt if I can just do a really bad job and keeping it together. I quickly learned that I enjoyed machine quilting. Now I don't have a long arm, right? So I know that my quality is going to look different, and the amount of time it's going to take me to quilt is going to take a long time. But I enjoy that part, and the best part is I can say I went from selecting the fabric. I didn't obviously make the fabric, but I selected the fabric. I pieced the quilt top together. I did the bind. I'm sorry. Let's see. These all have B words, and I mentioned this last time. I put the batting, I put the backing on, sandwiched that pretty quilt together, and then I quilted it myself. And I don't have an embroidery. There is an embroidery attachment, I think, for this one. Or at least it was for my 440 QE Bernina. But I don't embroider. I do it all free. So I do free motion quilting. Occasionally I'll find a design and I'll pencil it out, or that kind of thing, and then I'll go over it. It's never perfect, right? This is free motion. What I like about free motion is that, I don't know, you get in this rhythm, and it's not about perfection, but it's about like, hey, I stitched it. It's like I stitched every stitch on that quilt. And to me, that's pretty amazing. I love the feeling of start to finish. Now, when we get to adding the binding, do I love putting the binding on? I used to hand bind the backside of all my quilts, and depending on the quilt, depending on like, I guess how much work I put into that quilt. If it's one of those quilts where I'm like, this is legendary for me, I will hand bind at the back. But if it's one of those where like it's going for a baby quilt, it needs the durability. It's just not like, the person doesn't care whether I hand bound it or if I machine bound it. But for the most part, nonetheless, I operated all the procedures to get from the beginning to the end. I love that. And to me, that's fine. If I ever do an amazing quilt top, like where I think it's close to perfection, which probably will never happen, but like where maybe I want to put it in a show, my first, or maybe multiple, if that ever happens, I might pay a long arm person, a professional, to knock it out of the park, They'll get recognized in the competition for their long arm skills, and I would get recognized for my piecing or applique, depending on the quilt that I'm doing. But until then, it's me. I'm the quilter. The other question she has is, do you do a lot of free motion? Yes. In fact, I prefer free motion over taking a template and tracing it and then going over the lines. To me, it's just a disappointment because I could never do it exactly as how I traced it. With free motion, I feel like one, it's quicker, um, it's more organic, and I love sometimes just an overall quilt pattern, stippling or waves or circles is just fine. You don't have to have a different quilting pattern. You don't have to have feathers on every border you do, which, by the way, I'm not a master at all. I've done feathers. There's a reason why I don't do a lot of feathers. They're difficult because they look pretty when they're close to perfect. Um, but nonetheless, I'll do them again because they're gorgeous. So yes, I'm a fan of free motion quilting. And I also think that you could be really creative with your free motion quilting. You come up with a concept, you go, over here, I'm going to do this, and over here, I'm going to do that. Boom. It's done. Um, all right. The other questions that she had, it says, what features do you like about your sewing machine? Okay. Well, for my Bernina, which I do most of my quilting on, that was one of her other questions. Yes. Piecing, quilting, sewing up my fabric for my backing to make it the right size. I'll do my machine binding on that. I primarily use my Bernina for most things. And the features, well, let's see if I turn this way. There she is. With this guy here, he's the Bernina B750. I guess he's a male. That's weird. I just said he. That's because he's a beast compared to my other Bernina, which was a 440 QE. She was sweet. I had her for a long time, and I had some weird fluke things that happened, and anyways, the shop owner that I bought that machine from was gracious enough to transfer everything that was pretty much everything that was worth towards this machine. And I did a bunch of research too, and no one had ever had the problem that I had, so I had some weird fluky thing. But anyways, since then, it's been over a year now. I have the Bernina B750, 750, I don't know if you can hear that, I'm facing the direction. And he's great. I'll say that's awesome. Wider space between the machine and then the arm where the needle comes down, and that's great for quilting. So obviously I'm quilting on it, I'm sewing my bags on it. The zipper foot's great. It has a lot of bells and whistles that my other machine didn't have. I don't know, what features do you like? I love the automatic cutter. Didn't think I would like that. Love that. You just click a button and it basically secures your stitch, so you don't have to backstitch, backstitch to secure. And then it cuts it for you. Love that. I love the bobbin notification letting me know that I'm coming close. Now the thing is it tells you quite far in advance that your machine, your bobbin's running low. So I think it's a little too far in advance, but nonetheless, I've learned that the moment I start seeing that, that I have a ways to go, but I should be keeping that in mind before I started maybe something really fancy or whatever, that I'm getting low on my bobbin thread. So that's a cool feature. It has a gazillion stitches, which I probably have barely touched. It has a lot of other things like recommendations on feet and stitches for the fabric you're using. I maybe used that once or twice, maybe when I was working with denim or whatever, but there's a lot. There's more than I know. Let's just say that. When you start getting into these higher end machines that are meant to be like lifetime machines, I don't know if you'll ever really get the extent or the use out of your machine of all that it is capable of doing versus a great old, non-computerized sewing machine that's going to give you consistent straight stitches, great zigzag and maybe an invisible blind stitch or whatever, but you're going to know all the things that you can do on it. You'll probably use all of them because there's only a handful. But at the same time, those are a lot cheaper than buying this big guy over here. So, but I'm glad I did. I'm really happy with my Bernina. All right, next question. Do I do applique? Yes, I've done hand, and I do applique on my quilts. And I forgot to bring my cute quilt for my future granddaughter. There is a quilt that I did. I'm gonna have. Yeah, Quilting with My Sisters is the book, and it's the cover photo on it. But nonetheless, I will make sure that if I don't figure out how to input a picture here, which I still haven't been able to do, I will make sure that I show it off in my next podcast because it's great. It's just, and it's applique. It's machine applique. I didn't do any hand applique on this sucker. So I do both. Machine applique is way faster, let's just say that, and my preferred method is machine applique. So yes, I do that. What are my favorite kinds of quilting? Okay, so machine applique, I started out doing a lot of that. And I've made some really great quilts out of machine applique. So I really do like applique. What I like about applique is that there's no restrictions on the image that you're working on, the picture you're trying to paint, per se, in fabric. If you're not doing applique, then you have to cut and piece together to make your shapes, and circles are usually difficult. Curves are never as easy as, now there's other methods to help you do those things, like paper piecing. But at that point, that's someone else's pattern. Like, I'm not smart enough to figure out how to design my own paper piecing quilt. So if I want curves and flowers and things, and the other thing with applique, it comes off very two-dimensional. Like, it pops off here. I think it's two-dimensional. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's not three-dimensional. It's two-dimensional. Yeah, I'm not that kind of smart. So what you're looking at, here's an example of but regular foundation paper piecing. Like, the points in this baby, this was from a class I took on Craftsy. And this is actually, this block right here is a whole, like, made me feel like, because I'm Hawaiian, is the Bird of Paradise block. And you just do 4 of them, and then it becomes out this really pretty star. So this was just the block you learn to learn the technique that I took. And if you look at the back, because no one wants to piece this thing by itself. Like, those points coming together, like, they're so sharp. And getting them perfect in alignment is very difficult. And that's where paper piecing comes into total. It's like a superhero for you if you wanted to do something similar to this. There's tons and tons and tons of blocks out there that allow you to be very precise, but also allow you to do it quickly. And that's what this is. So with applique, though, where you would never be able to piece a floral design the way that it comes out and allow it to pop, applique is where it comes in. And so I like applique a lot. I've done a lot. So, and I'll kind of maybe, most of the quilts I've done, I've given away. So maybe I can get some photos. I don't know. Sometimes I'm dumb. Like, I'll spend months, maybe even years on a quilt. And then I give it to the person because I feel like it's late, because it usually is, to when I think it's going to be ready for them. And then I go, oh crap, I didn't get a picture of it. And sometimes they'll send me a picture of it, but it's never like of the whole thing. It's like half of it hanging off a crib, or, that kind of thing. So anyways, I have to get better at that. And then the last question she has is, do you have a serger, and have you ever used one before? And the answer would be no and no. There was a phase where I wanted a serger when I wanted to get in more into sewing my own clothes. I think if I had a body like a model, then I'd want to sew my own clothes, because then I would pretty much use the standard measurements in a in a sewing pattern, and I'd be cool. But because I because God made me with curves and with different than what the world wants, it's hard to customize patterns for someone who has no hips, you know what I mean, but has a larger upper body and this and that. And so sewing is, especially garments, is something that I'm just don't feel fabulous at. And I don't have a desire for. But if I did, I would definitely have a surgery. So that's it for questions. We're going to move on. Already past the time that I thought it would take for me to get to here. Okay. Works in progress. Well, obviously, I said earlier I haven't had a lot of time to craft. So my first sweater, haven't touched it. I did, and you're seeing it there. I did baste my Dreamcatcher quilt by Sherry McConnell. And so you'll see I basted it. Let's see if I go this way. It's folded in half right now. It's ready for me to quilt. Just haven't done it yet. I think I'm probably going to start that tomorrow. I'm not too sure what I'm going to do yet. I had a couple thoughts, but start on that tomorrow. I haven't really touched my icicle vanilla socks that I'm working on, so I don't bother showing you something where I have no progress. I did cast on my Atwood shawl by Nicole from Hue Loco, and have a little progress on that. I'm using her tweed base, sock base, in cedar on US 2. I'm using my Chagu lace, but this is like a very interesting color. It's a brown, purple, grayish color, and there's little bits of tweed that you're seeing throughout it. I don't know what I did here. There was something funky going on, but this is my TV knitting project. So I'm liking it. I think it'll be nice. My husband's, he's like, what's with the tweed? He doesn't get the tweed. Well, what do you think of this fabric, babe? He goes, I thought that's yarn. I'm like, okay. When you knit, you make fabric. He goes, oh, okay. And then I go, so what do you think? He's all, oh, it's not as soft. So he's used to feeling the amazing, really soft, what was this? Wool and Vine yarns, Mexican chocolate, bulky base, but they're totally different fibers. So I try to explain that to him. So he's like, oh, and I said, but when I wash it too, the texture's going to change. And he goes, oh, I guess so. And I'm like, so anyways, he was like, what's with the little dots? It's tweed. Tweed? Yeah. He goes, like those jackets. And I go, I don't know. So anyways, I can only go so far in a conversation with my husband. Especially when it comes to knitting. Quilting, he's very smart. So sometimes when I'm doing my own quilting blocks and I'm putting my own quilt together and I'm not following a pattern, he'll come in and he'll go, I think you should do blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's a completely different direction than I was going. I get what you're saying, but you're not getting me and where I'm going with this. But he's smart. I can't deny the fact that he has good ideas when it comes to quilting. He could quilt. He'd be very good at it if he would stoop himself down to quilting, But anyways, so that's my other. So I have the shawl, socks, which I try to always have on the needles, which looks like I'll always have on the needles because I'm hardly touching them, and then a sweater, a garment of some sort. I did finish. I have one finished object, and that would be my farmhouse flats. So last video, which you would be like, duh, Nicole, you had already finished one of them last time. So I actually have 3 of them, but one of them was the first one I did, and I realized I wanted to modify it. So here was the first one I did, and I wanted to modify it. It looks like a little ducky face. Quack, quack. And here's what it looks like. Just this way. And my farmhouse flats are Ramsey Aaron yarn by Lamb Strings in the brick colorway. And if you just search, this is not a free pattern, but it's not expensive. If you search on Ravelry, farmhouse flats, these babies show up. So here's the first one. And I thought, I got wide feet. These aren't going to stay on me. I have small feet, but they're wide feet. So here's the first one. Let's put it in this hand. And here is the modified version. If I could just, I want to display them next to each other. So this is, so one view, first timers, modified. So you'll see, obviously see that the cuff comes up. And you'll see that if you look from this direction, which if I could show you, the beginner one, the stockinette stops pretty close to the front, where this one, let's see, I brought it, like this is where the other one stopped in stockinette. I brought it all the way up to here so that I kept this part together so it didn't split, so it is tighter on your foot. Then I obviously made this ridge higher to come up so it covers someone with a fat foot. That's me. Not that this is my foot, but it gets more surface area. If you have like narrow feet, you're probably looking at me like this is so weird. But for us ladies who happen to have wider feet, there's a big difference there. So you can see my fingers where you can't see them here. So comfortable, they stay on. There's two newbies. These are my farmhouse spot. They're dirty because I've been wearing them. That's how great they are. And I even put on some like shorty like cotton socks and then put these over that like slippers. And they were very comfortable. I mean, alone they're comfortable, but they were super comfortable when I wore socks. And in some cases, I could see myself doing that more during the winter. During the summer, I'll just throw these on. It's not a big deal. So, yeah, I have some flats. And my husband's like, they look like ballerina slippers. And I go, yeah, and that would be why you probably don't want a pair. And he was like, yeah. So I said, if they were masculine, he would want a pair. Because at first he was like, are you going to make me some? Because he just knew the concept of me making kind of like slipperish things. And then when he saw me, he's, oh, they're too girly. Okay, good, because I can work on some other stuff. All right, stash advancement. So I saw, and forgive me, I don't remember the person who put this on their Instagram feed, but someone purchased the shawl pin from Jewel Designs, and I love it, and so I had to get it because I was looking for one that was more delicate and very pretty, and it's white brass. All right, camera. It's because the lighting is just bad today. It's very overcast. It's beautiful. So I purchased it, and it's nice and light. So I could see myself using it. It's a little long, but I could see myself putting it like over here, or I would never probably put it here, but over here when I have my shawl on. So I love that. It's beautiful. I only have one skein of yarn. And it was okay, so if you're part of the Fiberista monthly sock club in the warm colorway, and you haven't received your yarn, look away. And I'll let you know when I'm done. But this is the yarn that came in the mail yesterday. Ooh, isn't that pretty? I think it's really pretty. And to me, it's a combination between cool and warm. But nice variety of colors. It's actually coming up pretty true to color. Maybe a little brighter than it is, but not by much. So this is by Mountain Colors and Company. Beautiful hand-painted yarns. It's from Montana. This is her Twizzlefoot base. 53% superwash merino wool, 17% domestic wool, 17% silk, and then 13% nylon. 450 yards, 100 grams, and the color is red willow. So I like this. This is something unique. I don't really have anything like it in my stash. Now, granted, I just recently, I would say over the last 6 months, became a crazy knitter. I dabbled in knitting before, but I would never spend the money or the effort into it like I did for quilting until now. It's taken over. So I don't know what I want to do with this. Obviously, I can knit socks out of this baby, and I might just do that. It's very soft. I like it. Okay, so moving into the spinning world. As I talked previously in my last podcast, or maybe the one before that, I had gotten my first drop spindle. It was a bottom whorl. It was part of a class, Craftsy class kit. And it had little lammies on it. But in that class, you're taught to do your drop spindle basically on the table. She also teaches you the drop spindling. I just didn't feel like I was getting enough spin, and I prefer drop spindling. In fact, standing up and spinning was making way more sense to me. So I thought I probably needed, and like I'm seeing from all of my spinning gurus on YouTube and Instagram, is a top whorl spindle. So I got one from Knit Picks just because it was very affordable, and until I know what I really want, I didn't want to buy something fancy, and I thought, hey, why not? So I got a top whorl spindle by Chromasky, and I think it's pretty. It's nothing fancy, but I can tell it's heavier. And just with me, I haven't really spun with it. I kind of played with it with my just a piece of yarn. Like I was gonna do what do they call that? A starter yarn. And I was like, oh yeah, it spins way better than my other spindle. So I'm looking forward to spinning on this. And then I also got a knitting knotty because I saw that those were really important, and it was by the same company. This one I believe is mahogany, and the other one of them is mahogany, and one of them is something else. My husband be like rolling his eye right now. Like, really? You didn't get the wood right. So now I have one of these, which is important for a spinner if I ever wanted to reskein something, and it adds to make minis because my goal is to minify all of my yarns, sock yarns especially, that I don't really have a plan to use for maybe doing contrasting heel or toe or adding to an edge of a shawl or whatever like that if I have a small amount. So that's what this baby is for. And I did do like I did use it once already, and I was like, oh, that was easy. So I have a knitting knotty. I'm getting some tools of the trade for fiber people. Okay, because I started spinning, I have picked up some fiber. Now, granted, I really am a newbie at this, so I don't know what the difference is between, like, I know the difference between preparation for fiber and what roving is, and what is a cloud preparation, and what is a roll rag is, and I'm getting that, although I haven't tried them all, so I don't know what they feel like. But I'm not too sure where to buy the best fiber. So while I was on Knit Picks, I thought, why don't I try out some of their standard roving in different colors, because with my kit, when I started to learn to drop spin, they were all natural fibers, and they're pretty, but you get to a point where you kind of want to spin color. So I purchased 3, and they were a very reasonable price, so that doesn't mean they're going to be fabulous, but they are very soft, and I haven't touched them yet, meaning spun on them yet. So it's unspun roving, 100% Highland wool. Wool of the Andes roving. I have 3 of them. This one is Tide Pool Heather. Okay, that's not the right color. Come on. There, that's better. It's pretty. Then, because I'm a purple girl, it's my favorite color, Amethyst Heather. And I would say it's almost as bright as you're seeing here. Yeah, that's almost true to color. And the last one is more of a warm color. It's Merlot Heather. And so it's heathered, which means that it has some dark wool mixed in with colored, like dyed wool. So that's where you're getting that. I kind of think, I guess I like the heathered look because I also bought my first braid. And now I'm looking at these. They're almost in the same family. I just realized I think I bought colors that can go together. Okay. So the roving is by Greenwood Fiberworks. It's 4 ounces of hand-painted roving. It's a braid. It's heathered BFL. And I bought BFL because, well, in my class that I took, I learned BFL is pretty easy to spin on for newbies. So, and the colorway is Hawaii. So, but I actually was drawn to the colorway, and then I heard the name. I thought, sold. So here's the braid. So it's got these like really cool peach, like soft pink, but then purple wrapped in, and then it goes into greens, blues, and greens. It's a very ocean and floral. So what you're seeing here is ocean and sky colors mixed in with floral colors. So a lot of purple flowers in Hawaii, and then these sunsetty colors too, like this rose blush color. So pretty. But then I'm just looking, I'm like, kind of goes. Yep, kind of goes. Not intentionally did I do that. So now I have all this fiber. And I gotta say, it was kind of getting into spinning. Like, I'm not good at it yet, so it's disappointing. But I was like, already, this is my personality. How could I do this more efficiently? Like, I can get good at it, but even at good, would I be happy with just drop spinning? Nope. So, I've been looking and dreaming about getting a spinning wheel for a while. Okay, obviously not that long, probably for a couple months. And so I was doing some research, and then I kind of just, I don't know, because one issue is space. We don't have a huge house at all, and I already have a lot of stuff. So whatever I get, it would have to be smaller and also lightweight so that I can move it around, bring it out to the front room if I need to, move it around in this room, put it in the closet if I need to, whatever, I don't know. But a wheel that's moves easily and also looks good, because it probably will have to sit along some wall or something. So I kind of got like bored looking around because I just couldn't find what I was looking for. And then Carrie Joyce, I want to make sure I got your last name. Yeah, Carrie Joyce, the one that I had mentioned in my last podcast that recommended a spinning wheel, recommended the Bliss by Woolmakers. First glance at it, I was like, ooh, this is nice. I mean, it's white, which probably we have a lot of woods in our house, hardwood floors. A lot of our furniture is we're more into the more natural look instead of modern look. So this spinning wheel is modern looking, but it's clean looking, and the size is awesome. And so it's a Scottish spinning wheel, Scottish tension spinning wheel, which I just learned. And I just started taking, let me pull this up. This is probably really annoying, but I'm pulling up Craftsy because I just signed up for a spinning wheel class in preparation for the Bliss. Well, one thing is I started this before I bought my Bliss because she goes over different kinds of spinning wheels. And so Foundations of Spinning by Amy King, and I'm loving it. She goes over all the different parts in a spinning wheel. She talks about the difference between a Scottish tension and Irish tension, I think it is. And see, obviously, I was only paying attention to the one that I want. But anyways, I'm excited. And just watching her on the spinning on the wheel, like I'm like, that's what I want to get to. I think I'm really gonna like spinning on a wheel over drop spindling. Although this is fun, and I think this is a great way to test out fiber and see how it's gonna look. Yeah, it's very portable, but I think if I have a wheel, I might not do a lot of drop spinning. So we'll find out. More in the efficiency stage. Plus, that's one way for me to get my drum bass foot stronger, is to be treadling on a wheel. That's one way to do it. So anyways, looking forward to that. That's big news. Obviously, They don't have any in stock right now, so they're gonna have to make it and then send it my way. It's coming from Holland. The exchange rate was really good. They do free shipping, so I'm excited. I don't even know when it's gonna come. I'm thinking probably mid-February, but I'm willing to wait. And I'm probably still gonna spin on my drop spindle a little bit with some of these color things, but I'm probably want to save a lot of it for my new spinning wheel. So that's my new big purchase. And with that, obviously, I had some money from Christmas, so that allowed me to buy that. Otherwise, I probably would have not bought it for a while. But hey, thank you, my mother-in-law, and for giving me some money for Christmas. And you got me a spinning wheel. Other than that, I'm pretty much done, even though I can't believe it's almost an hour. At the end of this segment, you're going to see my stash. This is the video I took a week ago that I didn't want to tag on my last podcast because it was way too long. But it's going to show you my fabric stash, not my knitting stash or my yarn stash. So you're going to see kind of how my world of this room, which looks really messy on these podcasts, is played out when it comes to fabric. That's all along this wall and a couple other places. So I hope you guys have a great rest of the day or evening and keep in touch. Feel free to ask me any questions. I opened a thread on my podcast group in Ravelry. Says ask me a question. I literally mean that, like ask me a question. It could be about the podcast. It could be about anything crafty related that you think I might have some insight on. It could be a personal question you just want to know. Obviously, keep it clean. Actually, knitters are pretty cool people. I'm not too worried. It's not like throwing something on Facebook and getting comments. So I'm not too worried. When someone makes an account on Ravelry, I'm not too afraid of what they're going to ask me. So anyways, have a great night. We'll talk to you later. I'll see you next week. Okay? Take care. Bye.
Okay, it's time to show the stash. We're going to focus on quilting today for showing my stash. So what you're looking at is this old office antique furniture that holds lots of stuff. So you'll see I have my books on top. I've got hand quilting thread in that plastic Tupperware, more books. And then you'll see down there's a bag of Knit Picks sweaters worth it's my second sweater I'll start. And then just some random fabric that I've played around with and obviously need to organize. But as we move over, you'll start to see my obsession here. On the top shelf is organized by color. I've got my reds, my oranges, my yellows, and my pinks there. In the next shelf down, I have anything over a yard and a half is in that lovely pile. And then there's this little mini row here, which actually is a lid to this section down here. It's just holding a little collection that I had told myself I was going to make a quilt out of and haven't done. And then this lovely stash, sorry as I drive you nuts with my finger, is a lot of my collections from Pink Castle Fabric. For example, the one that I just went over in the last episode is right there. I kept those in their collection. There's actually, if we were to go closely, this here is actually two collections. I believe this is all one, and then this is two, and the same thing would be for no, this is all one here. This is 2 or 3 collections, 1 collection, 2 collections, but they're very similar. So I put them that way because at one point I might just want to highlight that collection. There's a reason those designers put those together, is because they work beautifully in quilts, and I will pick and choose from the rest of my stashes, but for the most part I like to highlight what a designer has done. There's my old fluff. These are the bags that I'm going to be working on in the future, my project bags. Also another pile of fabric that I just love. Sorry about that. This is hard to do while you're holding your camera. See if I can get the name of this collection. I just love this collection. It is, Priority Square, I think it's called. And it's designed by Kat Jones for Art Gallery. So just at one point, this will be a quilt. I literally did purchase this with this cream fabric to make a quilt. I don't remember what quilt I was gonna do, so I have to figure that out. And I've gone crazy with zippers since I've been making project bags. There's my weights down there when I work out. And then over here, you'll see all my solids. I have over here and behind it are my fat quarter solids, and then all of these and behind it are all half yard solids, mostly RJ Fabrics. I was part of a solid monthly club. This is where I got all of these colors. I did it for a whole year, and I pretty much obtained every color in the RJ Fabrics solids collection, and that was through Pink Castle Fabric. I recommend it if you're trying to build a stash. I did the half yard because it just makes more sense to me. You're going to get more of that fabric and can do more with it. So anyways, that's that. So that's kind of like my main stash. Oh, you'll see there's some jelly rolls in the background up there. This is another stash of a couple collections that I've actually made quilts from at least once or twice. I just bought tons of this line. I just loved it because I just love those blues and pinks together. Then over here, this is, well, there's my Swift little ironing board. There's my, this is where I do all my cutting. This is, I've made, sorry for the mess, but, and there's my garbage where I put junk in. My ironing surface, I have a really big ironing board, but it's a hassle to get up and down. It's just huge. It used to be in our back bedroom, but my husband's kind of took that into his room, his fishing storage stuff and guitar room. So I made this. I just took, I really like it because it's very flat. I took particle board. I went to Home Depot, wrapped it with an old towel, so that gives it that softness that you need, but at the same time is pretty one layer of it. And then I just put some fabric on it, made it like a little fabric pillow for it, and now that's my pressing table. I don't do my normal ironing on that, but that I use my ironing for quilting and sewing on that. You always need one of these. I'll be going into tools later, but definitely need one of those. This is my thread, my sewing thread, not my hand quilting thread. And as you can probably tell, I'm a huge Aurifil girl. I love me some Aurifil thread. And then this is my main sewing machine. I used to have a 440 QE by Bernina and loved it. Just upgraded to have more width between here so that when I do my own quilting, I have more space. It's really difficult to quilt anything on my other one. The biggest I did do a queen size, but I practically killed myself doing it. This one I feel like I'll be able to do a queen and survive. All right, and then this is the last of my fabric stash. This is the rest of the color-coded. So you saw over on my other furniture that I had my yellows, my reds, my pinks, and my oranges. This is now where the blues, you got blue, green, blues, white tan prints, black and grays, greens, yellow greens, medium browns, light browns, purples, and then some random stuff. And then down here, more fabric. I took little containers. I bought these at like Walmart. They were only like $1 each or $1.50. And I take my little, if I have little pieces of fabric and I like the fabric, it's basically my little color-coded stash. If I need a little bit of yellow, if I need a little bit of green or purple or red, such and such. And then more fabric. Usually what I have down here is, down in this one is a bunch of magazines, quilting magazines, or I've cut out the actual patterns that I like because the rest of the magazine takes up space. Down here are kits. So sometimes what I like to do for Christmas gifts, because I just don't want to spend all the time, but I want to give somebody a gift, I use a kit. just to make it easier. So like this is a kit, actually this one here might just be for me because I just love that fabric. But this one's for my brother-in-law Mike. Then I also have a lot of layer cakes in here. Lots of different things. Some batiks, some really cute. There's this one's all about like cats and stuff. So lots of stuff. And I apologize for the mess, and here's that ironing board that I was telling you about. Just kind of, my husband set up something to come off the top of that so that I can hang it there. It's the large. It's not your standard size, it's the large size. I'm sorry, that's my hardwood floors. That is not me. Well, that's me making the noise, but it's hardwood floors. All right, so that's my stash. Hope you liked it.